sometimes I don't think people realize that, yes, my mama's black, but she was a very selfish mother. She was not a loving person like that. Now, I tend not to talk about my personal situation because my mother and I got along very well. I tend to not talk about my personal situation. I talk about the male friends that I had and how terrible a lot of their mothers were. I think I loved my friend Valen's mother more than I loved my own mother. I appreciated my friend Greg's mother as much as my mother. So those top three people uh, were probably the epitome of the hundreds of mothers that I saw because they treated their boys like shit, like servants, like dogs, like puppies. If anybody want to come on in, this would be a great time for us to have a George Fraser. You need to come on up here. So I'm gonna put the chat and the link in, and I'm also gonna put in the call in number because this is just a great conversation to have. Because I don't hate women. I just understand that they're not very accountable people. Um, as much as I love my mother, and you guys know I get along with my mother great. I'm about to spend $7,000 to recarpet my mother's house, um, just so she can have nice stuff. I love my mother, but my mother is not a. My mother is very stoic. You know, my mother's a very uh, stone type of person. She expects people to kind of read her mind. But she doesn't even realize it. And that's where I get my theory from. A lot of times women don't realize it. But I hear a lot of hold on, let me plug my phone in because I know people are gonna call in once I drop this call in number. So let me plug the phone in. I got four telephones, man, and it's crazy how I got four telephones and three chargers because I do so much other different work other than be on YouTube. And when I'm out and about, I hate that the fact that my phone is always dying. So I'm going to charge up the phone before I drop this call in number. So anyway, so I'm going to drop the call in number for those that want to call in. We'll have a chop it up discussion. This is my international number. So it goes directly to my phone, but it is not my actual phone number. So this call in. All right. So yeah, you know, your mother's black, but that doesn't mean that you actually learn stuff from your mother. Um, it's a weird thing, man, that everybody thinks, and I think it's just something that women have put out in the atmosphere to convince people that the community under matriarch, the community under women is a positive thing. I think that's why they put that out. But I don't think there's any evidence of it. Now, all women are not terrible. Let's make that clear. All women are not terrible. But the reality is, man, that a lot of women, just because they're black, are not necessarily a benefit to their sons. That's just real conversation. A lot of them are just not benefits to their sons. And I know some orphans who have had it better in life than a lot of dudes who grew up forced when child family court has forced them to be with the mom. You know, it's a real weird thing. And in situations where the daughter or the son has been with the dad, in all my life, I've only heard maybe 6 bad situations of bad fathers. The rest of the people came out good living up underneath their father. Matter of fact, the girls love black men even more because of how they grew up with their fathers. So this whole, yeah, your mama's black, but that don't mean that she made a great life for that black son. Shout out to Xavier Cooper. He said facts. You know, hopefully we can get Xavier to call in. Inquisitive Prince, maybe this is your time to call in. But yeah, there's a lot of people, man, who you know, they try to make it seem like being with the father is always a terrible thing and be with the mother is a benefit. A lot of dudes just really hate dealing with their mothers because it's like it's not a thing of appreciation. You know what I'm saying? It's like, did you really get some benefit? Or are you starting all over? Because the one thing I hate about the person who's the custodial parent, they get money from the other parent, but the child comes out screwed up. You feel me? Now let me give you a little piece of like my mother. Me and my mother don't have a problem. My mother has helped me my entire life. My mother put me in private school, all type of stuff, and that's where I got. You know, I'm from the hood, but that's where I got this education because I had the higher learning thing at 4th grade. I've been an honor student ever since 1st grade. So all I've known is honor roll classes, you know, because like I told you guys, my mother has 5 honor roll children. All of her children are honor roll kids. You know, I have the lowest GPA, which is 3.8. So, of course, I come across narcissistic. I come across, you know, King Sigma might not like me because I'm an honor roll student, but Xavier might hate me, but it's not something me trying to do. It's the fact that my mother has 5 children and they're all on honor roll, all of them. My sister's a valedictorian. Um, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I didn't even know the GPAs could go up that high. My sister had a very high GPA. Um, so I was like the failure. I was the failure of my family because I had a 3.8 and it dropped to a 3.6 and it dropped to a 3.2. So I was like the failure of my family. It was so funny, man, you know. But nevertheless, and my father was really funny style about the school thing too. But a lot of times you know, other people I would see, man, they hate going home. Other dudes, man, they hated going home. And then when I started selling dope and start hanging around in the projects with some of the cats, stopping into their homes, it was like a freaking terror zone. It was like, you know, I remember, man, 12 years old, thinking like, you know, oh, matter of fact, 11 years old, I was with my friend Myron, who I never saw again. I don't know what happened. His family was chaotic, but they was love. It was all love. It was all love at his house, man. They was chaotic. Myron was shorter than me, but it was a family. You know what I'm saying? Just a chaotic family. But here's the crazy thing. One day, I went over there to Myron house. I came back over. I didn't see him at school for some reason. I came back over his house. The whole family had moved, like probably like 6 or 8 people just moved. The problem with that a lot of our women don't want to acknowledge is the fact that that disables the boy. He doesn't have nothing to come back home to. You can't come back home to an apartment. You know, shout out to Cliff Dunham. There's no legacy there when you do that. And you try to explain that to women, but they want the whole thing of, well, the woman is perfect. You know, there's no possible wrong. And it's like, Jesus Christ, how can that boy grow? And people wonder why so many of these boys get access to crime and what have you. And then even my own sister, terrible mother, terrible. I've had to check my sister several times. Like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? She got, she treats her daughter like, somebody asked me to put the donate thing in there, so I'm doing that. She treats her daughter like her roommate. You know what I'm saying? My sister, man, she's never really been on her own. Her daughter has always been the extra income in her house. It's crazy. It's like my sister's paying rent. She got her daughter paying rent. Anybody can click the link and come on in. Anybody can click the link and come on in. Um, yeah, it's like the daughter, man, is what was just paying rent, and I used to challenge my sister all the time, and I said, "Come on, man, that ain't. I mean, you got her contributing. I mean, come on, buddy. What are we doing? She's not even 20 yet. I mean, she's still in school. What are you doing?" But these bad decisions, and then meanwhile, the child's father can barely make it in life, apart can barely afford an apartment, and back at this time in the early 90s, when you had child support issues, they wouldn't even let you rent. How about that? Certain places, certain guys wouldn't even let people rent, and that's a crazy thing. You feel me? And I think my niece is 30 and my brother-in-law is still paying for her. It's crazy. It's really crazy. Back child support. It's just crazy, man. It's crazy and unnecessary. It's really unnecessary. So let me read a couple of things. Xavier said, right. King Sigma says children used to be given to fathers for at least several reasons by the court. Yes, before the women's rights thing came along, King Sigma, it's just history and research. I know you do it too. Um, Women had to give the child up back in the Gone with the Wind days, back in the Gone with the Wind plantation days. When the child turned 12, 13, they went with the father. That is what's called old world standard. Russia still does that in 2020. Russia still does that in 2020. There's a famous case, I'll try to do a video on it, where a guy got out of jail for murder, and the his ex-wife was watching his child, who he had custody of when he went into jail. And when he got out of jail, she had to give that child right back to the dad. You know, children used as currency instead of legacy. Well, Cliff, that's because we as men don't stick together. Something I was talking with these white men about on white men's rights, and the white guys were asking me. They said, "Well, why is it black guys don't want to unite with us with men's rights?" And I pointed him to a discussion I had in the chat room with a white guy. The white guy was focused on black, 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 black. He wasn't focused on maleism. He wasn't focused on men's rights. He was focused on the black stuff way too much. And I pointed out to these white folks, I said, for the same reason right there. You, some of you white people are too focused on black shit. And you got to pick a fight. You got to either fight against this feminism nonsense and bond with the black man. That means hire the black man. That means don't hire some of your women. I mean, you got to do the same thing the feminists are doing. You can't do it the same way, or you need to do true equality, where 50% across the board, 50% across the board, 50% females, 50% males. But you can't straddle the fence, and that's just too much of that. So also, when it comes to a lot of the shout out to the 17 people watching. I wish you guys would hit the thumbs up. We got 17 of y'all watching. It would be nice if you hit the thumbs up. But you got a lot of mothers, unfortunately, man, who they always blaming the father on stuff, but the reality is the court gave them possession. So if this kid at 18 years old goes out into the streets and he's not doing well, why didn't you just give him to the father? Shout out, shout out, shout out. WVN is in the house, man. Um, Cliff says, just save my son from non-black abusive mom. Look, and let's be real. A lot of these white women are terrible with their mixed race kids. A lot of these dudes. You know what? This is something I used to argue with who was that? I think I talked to Soto TV about this a long time ago. There's a lot of guys. You let your white woman take control of your son. Why? Why? Why do you let your white woman take control of your child? That's just like Taz and Nyla. Taz used to always say of himself how his woman is leading his child. That don't even make sense. Don't even make sense. And we just got way too much of that, man. And sometimes when you have a black mother, that doesn't mean that you're getting the benefit of anything. Sometimes when you got a black mother, that does not mean that she's necessarily helping these children grow. She's just putting a roof over their head. I mean, if that's the gold standard to pay rent at a place you already live in, this is why a lot of us men's rights dudes was trying to push to get whoever the custodial parent was. They had to put forth a monthly record of where the money went to. That's not hard. That's not hard. And the argument was, or has been for the past 10 years, that they don't want to make that a standard because they don't want the custodial parent to falter for forgetting. How can you forget? You getting a check, you about to cash it, you just pencil in what you putting this money to. Because you just can't say rent. You know what I'm saying? So, it is what it is. WVN, why is it we only hear negative stories in these spaces and never accomplishments? Well, let's talk about some accomplishments. What are the things that our black women are accomplishing with our black sons? You have some, maybe a good 10, 20%, who are helping these black boys, but you don't even know who the name of those people are. It's hard to figure out who those women are. Like there's a couple of women connected to this channel. Shout out to Tyra. She's the single, well, I don't know if she's single, but she's the mother of 2 or 3 boys, and the 3 boys listen to this channel. Shout out to Angel. Angel has a channel over on YouTube. She says some great things about black men. There's another sister working on a network for black men. So there's a lot of those things, but like I say all the time, WVN, is that black men are not financially supporting the things that are for black men. Black men have fell in love with talking, and talking is like a heroin addiction. Everybody runs to the internet to talk and say little stuff, but not many of us are putting actual dollars to the forefront. Let me say one more thing about the whole title. Yeah, your mother's black, but it doesn't mean that your mother is preparing you for school. My mother put me in private school. You know what I'm saying? She worked with my father, and both of them bankrolled that part of the game. You got to understand, private school is really not as expensive as people claim when you're 2 parents. But when you're 1 parent and you're bullshitting, when you're 1 parent and you want to go out, when you're 1 parent and you're stressed out, then of course you might not be able to do that part. You might not be able to make that work. And that's quite understandable. But let's be honest, once again, that's your job. Your job is to put the kid in the most excellent position as possible. Maurice Smith said, very true, very true. If they hire you, they fear you. Black women have a problem with fearing black men who are better than them, especially on the hiring level. They got this real crazy thing with being intimidated by black men that don't need to grovel. Black men that don't need to grovel are hated in this community, even by some black men. When I first started talking power, black men hated it. They wanted the old alpha male wisdom stuff where I was talking about women 24/7. But when I was talking about power, I had to sit up here and say, hey, man, look, we got to talk about greater things. And in doing so, a lot of dudes took it on the chin. Well, that's just Mr. Research. I mean, he's a staple. I'm gonna let it ride. But the women were just like, "Ugh, you you think you better and you talking down." And I'm like, you guys, how do you expect to be warriors? Sometimes, man, and that's why I'm going to work on this new thing after this COVID virus stuff is over. I'm gonna put something together, man, where I have some black women speak with white women 101 about certain topics, just to see the comparison, because it's really crazy to hear a lot of black women say the stuff that they say and think that anybody wants to unite with that. Look at the white men. The white men are not rushing to be husbands. That's the crazy thing. A lot of people don't want to admit that. Maurice also said, they fear you might eventually take over. Well, no, no, most of these black mothers and black women in general, they don't like people that's smarter than them. Now, it's a turn on in the Latin community, and it's a turn on in the white community. That's why I tell women all the time, it's not that these dudes are choosing white women and Latin women. It's just that those women are turned on by black man status. They're turned on by brothers that are getting ahead. Maurice said they don't want to compete with black men. I mean, sometimes you don't even have to compete. Sometimes you just got to let it happen and let it be. Antonio Key says, "Yo, brother, can I send? Can you send me the PayPal link?" Absolutely, man, no doubt. And I appreciate you contributing, man. And I want to appreciate everybody who has contributed. Let me read off a couple of things on my Cash App. I got to say a couple of thank yous to some people, man, who contributed. Let me see if I can get access to it. While I'm doing that, let me get this Cash App. So a lot of times, man, it's not that we hate these mothers. It's just that we're very honest about there's no real benefit other than the other than the roof over the head. The roof over the head is not a major achievement. You know what I'm saying? But people try to make it seem like it's something like it's the hardest thing in the world to do. And it's not even like that. Want to give a shout out to Johnny. Want to give a shout out to Patrick, Victor, Brandon, Lou, Darnell, Malik, Maurice, Brandon again, Maurice, V Dub, and Naima Buckner. Thank you all for contributing, man, and love the fact that you guys give back. I'll try to get better at doing this stuff, man. You guys know I got the other job and I got the other two businesses, so sometimes I'm swamped. And like I said, I'm finna put carpet in my mother's 6-bedroom house, so that's about 2,000 square feet. So I'm gonna spend about 7K to do that, and also because ultimately that's my legacy. And I talk to you guys about legacy all the time. Now, a lot of times you brothers have to take control over your mother's situation. Sometimes you got to let her know that you want to continue the legacy. You want to take over the house. You want to, sometimes you got to say that, man. Sometimes you just got to go start. Like, my family needed the electrical done at the house. And I just went and paid $1,600 to just do all the electrical underneath the house, in the basement, in the garage. I had everything rewired. They still had open exposed wiring. They had a whole bunch of crap. I just said, you know what? No problem. I got that. Because my sisters, four sisters, they haven't did shit. And I hadn't been living in California for years, but they just refused to do that. Shout out to Antonio Keys. Thank you for the payment, brother. Thank you for contributing, man. Much love. Shout out to Jeremy. Man, you know, the PayPal link is there. Cash App link is there. Man, thank you, Cliff. Thank you so much. Let's talk with King Sigma, man. I need to make this real difficult conversation with King Sigma, but let's see what he has to say.
Hey, what's good with you, boss?
Man, just finished taking my mother carpet hunting.
Nice.
Yeah. Like I said, every time I'm on here, I'm trying to talk about what other black male YouTubers are not, man, and that's legacy.
I'm glad that the conversation is evolving. You know, now that I'm 2 years in, and I've been doing like my own live streams and uploads for just about 11 months now. It's good to see the conversation progress, because I felt that we were getting to the point that we were about to return to right when I came in, when it was about this Pookie versus and Ray Ray versus Classic Man discussion, and we we're about to just jump right back into that cycle. And it's good that people are talking more about, you know, business. They're talking about moving forward, and, you know, talking about production and competency and managerial opportunities. That's where, you know, I would hope that the conversation would go.
Well,
so, you know,
well, I know this is going to sound like a shot, but I'm just a realist. That has happened only because BGS and Obsidian has fallen off. And because BGS and Obsidian don't put out that fuckery, conversation now evolves with people like you, Ramil, MOT. You know, you see, unfortunately, and I don't say this with any hate, BGS was talking about things that were written, not lived, and that puts a bad conversation at the forefront. The Pookies and all that other stuff. It's theoretical, and it's not that it's wrong. It's just not applicable. And a lot of people don't understand applicable versus theoretical. There's just too much theoretical conversation, and we need applicable conversation. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of the stuff that you're talking about that precedes me, I'm one of those that came through after 2018. So I got to take your word for it. But I just know that in my own experience, I have to do what's practical. And I need to hear brothers telling me that are older than me about business. I need to hear them telling me about the mistakes they made and how I don't have to make them. When I talk to the older brothers, I need to hear about what to do about what we already know. And then last point is where I'm at, where it's like, okay, we understand this is where things are in the black majority or whatnot. This is where the relationship is between black men and black women. Now what? So I think that's what a lot of the younger guys that have come into the space the last 24 months, they want to move beyond just hammering the dead horse, because they understand that horse is dead. So now what do we do? Do I go get another horse? Do I go get a car? Do I walk? That's where a lot of the conversation is more exciting to me. So I like hearing brothers talking about you know, just how to take advantage of the moment that we're in. We have one of the most chaotic moments in at least 100 years, and we need to know how we're going to climb out of that pit, and who's going to give those tools, or do you already have the skill set and the tools, and you just need to apply them correctly to get out of this pit that a lot of people are in right now, as far as they're looking for the government to save them. They're looking for this or that non-government group to save them. But eventually, I think that people are going to realize that you're on your own right now.
Well. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Let me interject. Shout out to Jeremy, man. He just donated. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. I'm gonna put this money to good use. Here's the thing that I say to a lot of people: when you are a man, is when you start going to investment seminars, not just real estate. but investment. And not just because I'm doing it. That's really what it is. When you start looking at being a minority owner of a In-N-Out Burgers, when you start looking at being a minority owner of a AMC that's being built, you just want 10%. You just want 5%.
Mm-hmm.
It forces you now to have distaste for these other conversations, because now you have some non-black and black. I told everybody in 2017, the great separation has happened. Many people didn't know what the great separation was, and maybe you could talk about it. But I said classism is coming back amongst black people. And the people who are doing versus the people who have fallen in love with talking. And everybody's going to hate the people who are doing. But the fact is, this is not the 80s no more. Crack is not necessary. You can actually go get money. Crack only happened because people were not allowed jobs. So, and that was Ronald Reagan doing, because Jimmy Carter was giving out jobs left and right. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm hogging the mic. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So, when you're talking about the whole thing about the great separation, a couple brothers in this space have talked about it. I've talked about it. And what we're referring to is the great disintegration of Black America into, as you mentioned, different classes based on socioeconomic status, interest, and lifestyles. And Eugene Robinson, back in 2010, he broke it down into 4 groups, with the transcendent elite, the middle class, the emergent class, and the abandoned poor. And in the emergent class, he had non-ADOS blacks and biracials that he saw growing. And what's happened is that over the last 10 years, it's all come to realization. So when they hear you say the great separation, they don't understand that you're just saying what Eugene Robinson was saying 10 years ago, but in real time. And so what's happened is that more and more people, based on their class, they are only wanting to deal with people of their class or above their class. I think when men do it, I think they call it hypogamy, not hypergamy. That's when women do it. But when men look to deal with women on their level or above their level, they call it hypogamy. White men are known for doing that. When you look at people like John Kerry, John McCain, and a couple other white men, they tend to try to marry up and into families that have wealth, that they may not have the wealth, but they have the kind of mentality where if they marry a woman of a rich family or a business family, they know that that's what they need to do to raise themselves up. So like John McCain, for example, he's someone that came from a military family, but he married into a business empire. And John Kerry did the same thing. And I think that a lot of Black men are starting to realize that that's where they need to go. Instead of trying to look backwards, a lot of Black men are just like, I'm here today. How do we go forward? And that's where they're at, man. That's where we're going. No matter how much people try to fight it, that's where things are going. Because again, as you look at younger and younger Black men, they're farther and farther removed from that civil rights era and disconnected from the race first and self-interest second. Now it's flipped. When you talk to men under 40, under 30, they're talking about their own needs, their own desires, and living for themselves and not causing trauma to other Black people, because we leave that part out. These are the men that are saying, I don't want to be a thug like my uncle and my father were. You're speaking to a man whose father was on some thug shit, okay? And comes from a family where we got a couple knuckleheads in the family, my brother being one of them. But we're saying, I don't want to be like my father. I don't want to slang dope, because we've seen 20 years later that is a dead end, And all you end up doing is helping to destroy other generations. So these Black men are saying that I don't want to be that person, and I don't want to be with a woman that's attracted to that kind of Black and criminal pathology. So that's where we're at right now, bro. When we talk about that great separation, these men are not going to be shamed for being intelligent. What kind of group of people shame someone for wanting to be socially mobile, for wanting to acquire education?
Well,
learn how to salsa dance. To learn to say,
well, this is why I say it's the plantation trained ideology. No other for all you world travelers, no other black people put matriarch first. Why do you think that is? You're not going to find it in Black France. You're not going to find it in Black London, Black Australians, Black Scottish, Black Irish, Black Russians, Black Serbians. I'm talking about where Black people live, like Atlanta, Black. You're not going to find it in no other place but America Black. Black Canada don't even operate like that. They all those places I just mentioned are a father first mentality. The dad is celebrated and the son is idolized in most of those areas I just named, because they have an appreciation to look at those people as protectors. Yes, King Sigma is younger than me and I'm older than him, but as much as I give to King Sigma, just like I give to Ramil, the minute somebody speak bad about my name, I don't know, that's you. I rock with Mr. Research. You see what I'm saying? There's a protection going on there. When you don't have that, you have this individual feministic matriarch mindset that cannot survive. That's why everything's about get the bag, because it's so temporary. Hey, man, I just had 8 jobs within 6 years. How is that successful? Oh, man, I'm moving on up. I'm getting celebrated. No, you're not, because to an HR person, it looked like you can't stay nowhere stable.
You're Borgen, Mr. Research.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I had just stopped for a minute. I said it looked like you can't stay nowhere stable when you got six jobs in 4 years.
I mean, you just speaking the things that are funny to me, because the same type of things that you're talking about, like so many women that I know, they grew up not wanting that. So it's like they complain about these black men not being the producers, not being stable or whatever. But at the same time, they're raising these unstable men, these unfocused men, these unproductive men. And I just sit there in disbelief that the same women will worship other races of men. Oh, the Asian man is this, the Latino man is this, the white man is this. But then when you ask them just a simple question, who raised those Latino men that you love and admire and pedestalize so much? Who raised the same white men that you pedestalize? That white woman and that white mother. So that's where it's like a very interesting conundrum, because they worship these other men to down black men. But then when you ask them, well, those white men didn't come off of a fucking apple tree. Those Latinos didn't come out of a bakery. They had mothers and fathers who cultivated them, that invested in them and nurtured them to become this idealized, which is still idolized and pedestalized by them. But whatever you're saying about that man, you have to give that to his mother and his father, most likely. So then you're looking at yourself as a mother and as what is supposed to be the transmitters of culture, the female. What does it say about you? If you continue to produce 3 generations of non-productive black men, unstable black men, and black men that choose to be dominated by the female, that's a reflection on you as a woman. And you should take no pride whatsoever. That you got to be very cautious about the kind of message that you put out here to whoever might be listening. I would think twice before pedestalizing other groups, before I look at myself long in the mirror and say, what am I doing to contribute to better outcomes for my group? Instead of being the person that is actually consistently making the kind of bad decisions that have led to black people dropping down the ladder, becoming less politically competitive, economically competitive, and culturally competitive by the year. There ain't much time left for the black majority, Mr. Research. It ain't much time left at this point, man. So all this pedestalizing, of these men above black men is not going to get these ladies anywhere. And it's going to be such a tremendous outcome to the disadvantage of these young people. When we look up in 2030 and the great separation has ossified itself into like a caste system in America.
Yes, sir.
then what are we gonna do? Then what are they gonna say?
Now, normally I say caste system when I'm talking to Euro blacks because they understand the historical relevance of caste system. But everything ends up coming back to the caste system. That's why I tell people there's no such thing as colorism. What we think is color is not really color. It's a plantation construct. Let me give you an example. I say this all the time on this page, and thank you for the people who donated. Let me ask you, Bro Speaks, if the redhead women, Bro Speaks, start telling the white man you idolize blondes way too much, what's going to happen, Bro Speak?
Usually they will, if they say they idolize blondes too much.
If the redhead white women start attacking the white man verbally and say you idolize blondes too much, you put them on a pedestal, what's going to happen?
They probably put something out bigging up redheads.
Absolutely.
And then go back to idolizing blondes.
Go right back because the brunettes are going to start being upset then.
Mm-hmm.
So how is there such thing as colorism? I can apply colorism to white folks. Color hair. But it's a war that never ends. I'm sorry, I just wanted to throw that at you. I'm going to give you the microphone. Go ahead and speak about anything you wish. Not my question, but anything you wish, and then we'll go back to King Sigma. Go ahead, Bro Speaks. What are your thoughts?
Well, again, how y'all doing to the panel? King Sigma,
Hey, what up, man?
You do good work. I enjoy your videos. So, just the whole thing, this colorism piece, I never understood it because it's like, you're saying these dark-skinned women are saying that these light-skinned women are getting more privileges in the society, and to me, I've never seen it. I've never seen that happen personally. So I just never understood the concept. Yeah, excuse me, I'll be right back.
Well, I can speak to what he's saying. I was just talking to a brown-skinned woman the other day, and she brought up this colorism stuff. And I asked her, I said, how many men have you rejected on social media trying to get with you in the last year? And how many of them were dark-skinned men or whatever men?
How dare you bring logic to that nice woman's ears?
It sounded real stupid, and I told her straight to her face, I said, you know what it is? See, you so busy watching the NBA draft and NFL draft and looking at that 1% guy, you're judging all the men, the 100 that you diss, because she's a good-looking, successful woman. And I'm like, you probably diss 9 out of 10 men because you are not trying to be with a man that's at your economic level and your looks, sexual market value. You're gunning for that 1% guy that you see on TV because you've been told by your mother, by the feminist rhetoric, that no man is good for you except the man that you don't have.
And she wants a penis to control.
And but that's a contradiction. You can't want the master of the universe on one hand and want to be able to control his penis. It ain't gonna happen. It's gonna be
no. The sisterhood of the white woman has trained the black woman to believe that the white woman's law of a man should do what a woman wants works. Now, it doesn't work in the white woman's world.
Exactly.
But the white women have convinced the black women to carry on.
They did a straight up Tuskegee experiment on these women over the last 40 years. Because that's been my whole thing, like the last 2 or 3 months. Like, I just been reading a lot of this feminist rhetoric stuff. That's kind of how I found out about the tender years doctrine when you were talking about the child support thing and kids being taken away. I was reading about like the roots of this feminist movement, and
Title IV.
Yeah, like a lot of it came along, starting in the UK, and then it migrated to America.
Title IV.
You said what?
Did you read Title IV yet?
No, I'm not. I'm right now. I'm on the female eunuch.
Hold on. No. Let me blow your mind real quick. Forget all that.
Mm-hmm.
Title IV in America states, and I quote, "The collection of child support is not for the child."
What year was that? It's not for the child. If it's not for the child, then it's for the woman's lifestyle. Then
No, it is for the replenishment of the treasury.
now you said this is Title IV, what, the Civil Rights Act?
Just look up Title IV. I'll leave it at that. You're a research guy. I'm gonna let you dig deep because
I'm gonna have to look into this one, man. I'm not surprised, but because that's one of the things that you notice, like when you start reading a lot of this feminist literature, you find out they were used social control mechanism by actually men.
Yeah, because
it was men that actually backed them, funded them, passed the laws. Because even if you go back to the first, what they call the first feminist law related to like the family law, that was called the Infants Act of 1863. And that was when because under common law, under family common law, men were given the children because they were considered to be better providers and more stable. And so it was in the late 1800s that they slowly started to change the laws, and they had what they called the Tender Years Doctrine and the Infants Act, where they started to switch it and say, well, you should let the children stay with the mother if the children are 4 years and younger. Then as we got to about 1900, then they said 7 years old. And by the time we got to the women getting the right to vote, they started, it was around age 16 in the UK and America. And that's how we finally got down to today, where there was actually a preference for giving children to the mother, even though throughout the 99% of history, they had determined through science that it was better to give the children, whatever the age were, to the male, to the father. And it was all because of certain decisions made, certain rhetoric and ideology passed along over the last 100 years or so, man. And that's how we got here. Wasn't by accident.
Absolutely. Let me give some of the microphone to Bro Speak, and then we're going to come back to that. Bro Speak, you got cut off earlier. Salute to you for taking care of your family first, man. Salute to you. Go ahead, Bro Speaks.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. We don't talk about having to take care of your parents as they get older much. We always talk.
Mine is 80, so I get it.
Yeah, mine's 77, and
sisters haven't did shit for her, but luckily she has a son.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in that kind of same boat. I mean, I don't even know where my other brother is. He gone. The only people that come try to take care of her is me and one of my cousins. So she comes by and keep an eye on her. So
well, let's switch topics. What else did you want to speak about? Because we cut you off earlier. Go ahead.
Oh no, well, I was pretty much done. I just thought about the colorism thing. It's just, to me, it's pointless, because at the end of the day, light-skinned people are not getting any more advantages than dark-skinned. This is just a mindset of these dark-skinned who has certain people in their own community tell them they're ugly and all this garbage.
Well, this is why, Bro Speak, this is why people need people like the Mr. Researchers, you, King Sigma, because, see, we're able to say white people had a form of colorism, but it was facial features. The Germans were called blockheads. The Jews were never like, matter of fact, there was a Congress thing to kick the Jews out of America at one point. You see what I'm saying? So there was all these type of things. It's a war that will never end. So what black people need to use is the one drop African rule of the Sanscripts. If you have one drop, you are therefore black. Now, people might not like that, but what it does is it defeats the mayonnaise message. Go ahead, Bro Speak, and then we're gonna go back to King Sigma.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is like, and the funny thing, they use that to try to divide black people. You got people who will. There's a light skinned black woman or a black man who's supporting the cause, trying to be black, trying to support black, and then you got some guy who either dark skin or light skin probably saying, "Well, you ain't black. You got a white parent, so you're not black." And then you see that particular person, they ain't doing nothing for the black community. So it's like, or they'll have a person that goes against their ideology. That just if you just look in their lifestyle, but they'll support them. So that's why I said this colorism thing is pointless, because it's whoever they like, whoever support their rhetoric at the time, and they'll determine who's black and who's not. Well, it should be who is really doing for the black community, who is not. That's it.
Let me ask you this question before I go back to King Sigma. What about this theory of your mama black, but she didn't teach you nothing? She didn't show you how to cook. Not your mama specifically, but when you see other dudes whose mothers really didn't do too much for them, what are your thoughts that you've seen as a child till now?
Well, I look at them. I'm like, I noticed that in uh, a friend of my mother's family, uh, their mother was black, but if you look into those guys' lives, most of them been in prison. Most of them, pretty much all of them, hate their mother to the point where one said they were going to burn down her house when she died. And when she did die, she had a house right out in the woods, and I don't know what happened to her now, because it's like she didn't. I don't think she left it to anyone, because she was afraid that they're just gonna burn it down and do nothing with it. So it's like, so when I hear about the mother black, I say, well, do you know what type of mother that they have? Because not all mothers were good mothers. I've seen that person. I have a coworker. You know, uh, her son. I mean, he acts so much like her. You might as well put a wig on and put a dress, and that's her. And the only difference between the two is that she knows what level to take, not to disrupt her job. He didn't. He took it to a level where, they pretty much, they were going to fire him eventually. So he just up and quit. So now he's really living off of her. He can't function as a man where he needs to be. He goes to that feminine space. He's so much like a female. It's just like, I'll be like, wow. And they want to say, well, the mother's black, so he should respect black women. And I'm like, again, you got to look at the mother before you say that these dudes' mother's black, so they should like black women.
Absolutely. Let's welcome Radical Latino. I'm gonna go back to King Sigma just 1 minute. Just want to greet Radical Latino, my brother in the spirit.
What's going on, man? What's up, bro? I want to give a big shout out to the room. Big shout out to the chat room. Thank you for inviting me in.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to come to you with a question as relates to mothers and sons. So please prepare for that. Let's go to King Sigma. Thank you for being patient, sir. What are your thoughts, King Sigma, before I go to RL with his question?
I think that it's a lack of thinking to say, well, your mama's black, and not as if the default position of a mother is good. See, this is what happens when you generalize people based on race, gender, title. You got to judge people by their character. There's a lot of good mothers out there. There's some okay mothers out there. There's some bad mothers. And there's mothers that are so terrible that the courts and the state have to step in to take children from parents. So before you say to just some random black dude, well, your mother's black, ask that black man, does he have a good relationship with his black mother? Is his mother the average for the kind of black woman that he grew up around? Because even if he had a good mother, maybe his mother thinks that the black women and the black girls within his dating pool are not qualified and that he should go elsewhere. So it's so many questions that we avoid asking, because when we start to move away from generalizations and stereotyping, that requires research, that requires going and getting the documented facts. It requires patience. No, it's easier to react off emotion. It's easier to speak to generalizations than to get into the detail and do the work, because most people, they just want to push a narrative that's been repeated for the last 40 years and has been proven to be a failed program. The third and fourth wave feminism for the rank and file woman in America is a failure. For working class women, a failure. They've borne the brunt of third and fourth wave feminism. And how do we know? Here we are in the middle of a crisis. Guess who are the most safest? Those rich white women and a couple non-white women that pushed all of that stuff. Oh, they got a lot of money between 1970 and 2020. They married into those same kind of toxic, masculine, traditional nuclear family structures that they told the working class and the poor women not to marry into. So when they talk about, is your mama black? First find out, was that man's mother one of the quality rare women, or was she just another succubus that had her children taken from her because she was so neglectful? Find that out first.
And see, this is what I talked to Radical Latino behind the scenes, is that I wanted to, I reached out to Radical Latino because I wanted to give him exposure to a halfway decent conversation before he talked to some of these other knucklehead dudes. Because the strength of what we talk about in the black male community, or what we should talk about, let me correct myself. RL reminded me Latin women ain't perfect. White women ain't perfect. But where the two understandings come together is that what I said to RL was, Latin people have a familia a cultural understanding. It ain't perfect. Mexicans don't rock with the Argentinians. I get it. But they have somewhat of a, at first sight, hey, we all Spanish to some degree. When we have in this beaten down plantation culture is we have people whose great grandmothers were pitted against each other. So I'm going to invite Radical Latino in, and I'm going to give him a little twist of conversation, because I think you all can learn from a well-spoken Latin brother who appreciates Black people. For to some degree, you consider yourself part of the Black community. I consider myself part Latin because I go dance so much and interact with so many Latinos. Hey, look, fourth grade, I had Catholic school Latin dudes that I'm still cool with to this day. So it is what it is. Talk about, educate us, Radical Latino. Here's why I invited you. Educate us about how the typical Latino son is treated 12, 13 years old. Give us the good and bad.
All right, cool. For the most part, I want to give some people some context. A lot of times when I go into these type of conversations, everybody wants to know, are you Black? You know what I'm saying? So I am classified as an Afro-Latino. You know what I'm saying? On paper, I put down Black, so I just want to get that out the way before anybody wants to, ask or whatever.
Over here, we're the intellectual Blacks.
Yeah.
So okay. we're a little bit different.
All right, cool. I just want to get that out the way because some people do ask.
We are less confrontational over here.
Yeah. Cool.
Go ahead.
All right, cool. So with that being said, how Latin men, they grow up in the family structure for the most part, not all, but for the most part, we grow up by being, you have to be the man in the house. You have to go at least try to get a job, or at least be the fixer upper. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be shown any weakness, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And the women in the house need to cook, clean, learn femininity, if you want to even say that, at an early age. Now,
how dare y'all and how dare y'all have y'all queens learn that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So at an early age. Now the thing is, it doesn't always work. There's always going to be some pushback, and I'm talking about the Americanized first, second, third generation, Latin people. There are, women who stay with that traditional role, and there's other women who just go away from that, saying, listen, I'm Americanized, I don't need to even learn none of that. With the men in the Latin community, the family structure in the Latin community, I'm not saying that it's intact 100%. I'm gonna just keep it real. I'm gonna say 40% of it is intact. Basically, it's a family structure, familia. We gotta stick together. We gotta work things out together. The other percent, I would say, like, what, 70%, whatever the percentage is, it's pretty much like, a dysfunction. You do see a lot of single mothers raising those sons and daughters by themselves. You see a lot of Latin men out there either cheating, drinking, messing around. So it's not as connected, or is not as 100% pure as a lot of people think that we are.
I gotta interject because we all. Yeah. I want people to learn something. So why is it you think that with Latin men having those problems, Native Americans having those problems, why are those women not coming to the forefront and verbalizing their pain against Latin men publicly? We got some deep questions over here, Ariel.
Yeah. To be 100% with you, and I'm gonna just bring it back to the structure of white supremacy. Because Latin men aren't the sole target that white supremacy wants to target. I'm gonna just keep it real. Exactly. Our image and our structure is kind of, let's be completely honest, it's kind of put in the back burner. There are Latin women who speak about it, but they're not taken serious. So what these women do, they end up, going out from their identity, and they want to structure themselves some other way and just go into these little things like the Me Too movement, femininity, and all this other BS, and they become people who represent that. And then they end up attacking not only their men, but they end up attacking black men as well, meaning that those black men are the representative of all men. You know what I'm saying? There are some women who do it, but they're not as loud or vocal or put in the forefront in the media. You know what I'm saying?
All right, so we're going to have this. Thank you, MOT, for coming through, and I hope you guys learned something from Radical. Radical, please put your Cash App and your PayPal in my chat room so people can donate to your situation. We're going to have open panel. The only rules for open panel is when someone's speaking, just say, let me interject. Let me interject. That way, that'll give the person the opportunity to wrap up so that you can get in. So everybody's free to talk. But we're going to start off with MOT. But if you just say, let me interject, that'll give that person time to wrap up and let you get your piece, and we'll do it like that. All right? MOT, welcome, sir. What are your thoughts on what the three brothers have spoke about thus far?
Well, the only one I've heard was Radical Latino. That was the last person first and last person who I've heard. I wasn't aware somebody spoke before. But yeah, I mean, that's...
King Sigma was telling me how terrible I am, how he don't like me, he gonna beat me up on sight. And
nice.
Bro said something about you don't want none of this. So that's how it went.
Oh, wow. 2.0.
And then Radical was talking about West Side. So I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead, MOT.
Yeah.
Yeah, like from what Radical Latino said, like this is the reason why I changed what I was going after to mirror what I grew up like. I mean, I grew up in a family situation. I grew up in a very cultural background. You know, like there wasn't all of this stuff that was going on, and it's very easy to find that other places. You know, and still me remain who I am, right? Because peace is powerful, and you can build a lot when there's peace, when you can actually cooperate and collaborate with people without worrying about things. And it's just that that's something that we've lost because this finesse culture, because that's what it is, has kind of taken everybody by storm, where everybody wants to bring nothing to the table, but they want to leave with everything. So it's kind of like right now, what men need to learn is that you need to collaborate with those who have the same mind state as you. Not really skin color, not really background, but the same current mind state. Because that's where the true cooperation is.
Let me steer you back toward the title. How is it growing up as a boy in a female structure? Not your situation personally, but other guys that you may have seen. And again, anybody's free to jump in on this question. Go ahead, MOT.
How did those guys grow up in a female structure? Was that the question? Sorry if I missed it.
How have you seen guys grow up in a female structure? Let me start off. You know, I saw this. Like I said, it wasn't really my thing. And welcome, Akil. I didn't see a lot of bad women, but I saw more women not help their boys. I saw more women beat on their boys, steal from their boys. I don't know how many dudes out there selling drugs that only had a mama steal their money and smoke it up or whatever the case may be and make them start all over again. I felt so sad. My one business partner, we used to cop pounds together on the weed side. And she would always steal his money. And he always had to start over. He did that like 3-4 times, man, until finally he got caught and sent to the feds. So this is just a crazy thing. And what I'm trying to do is not hate on the Black mothers, but just really show that we didn't have this great experience necessarily. You feel me? And a lot of people think that we had this great experience. Would anybody like to talk?
If you don't mind,
go ahead.
I'm gonna have to agree on my experience. My aunt from my dad's side, she was kind of like that as well. She got divorced after 5 years of being married, and from that moment on, she just took this very aggressive take on her son, talking about that your dad ain't this, your dad ain't that. You know what I'm saying? And kind of made him grow up. I don't know if I could say it as a simp. I don't know if I should say that, but they kind of she made him grow up as a simp. So he was out here thinking that women need to be, validated on everything, and you should basically just see women as a something to be put up in a pedestal, when he was taken advantage of. Not saying all women do that, but I'm just saying that he was grown up to be just like that. And then on top of that, she was still, when he went to college, she was still his financial aid money because she was she was living in Section 8 and food stamps, and they were kind of like playing with her money and stuff. So
she stole this kid's financial aid money.
Yeah. He after this, for what I remember, I could be completely wrong, either the first or second year, but the second year he got a grant, and it came under his name. His name is the same name as his father's name. So she just took it, went to her bank account, and kind of like cashed it in, and basically didn't tell him for 3-4 months. And mind you, this is my cousin, right? He's working 2 jobs and going to school just to help her out and also pay for his book. So
right,
insane. It was insane. She wasn't even drug addicted at all, but she saw that as something that it was meant for her to take. You know what I'm saying?
And like I said, if anybody wants to interject, just say, "Hey, let me interject."
But yeah, I just wanted to get my experience in that. Sorry about that.
Well, as the young man just stated, he mentioned not all women. I would have to disagree, in the sense of the things that he speak of. I was a victim of myself. It is the very reason why my skin is so thick.
Why do you think? What do you think the percentage of boys go through this outside of yourself?
95%. 95%, and it's not just because of it's just the single mother or the aunties or the grandmother, somebody's feminine raising the guys. It's also the guys, the fathers and uncles and the brothers who also have fell victim to that. So it's like a constant cycle that only can be broken by brothers. I'll safely say, like brothers on this particular panel, because we are the minority that says, you know what, enough.
Let me interject though. Let me interject. I just don't think we need to be angry about it. Like I be telling people, wolf away, take your power away, and stop being mad about it. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, they need our protection and our finances. And I just think wolf away is the better solution. Does anybody?
Well, you know what? You're absolutely right. But here's the thing.
Disagree.
Anger and pain. If you're smart, you're intelligent. I use it to fuel my goal, my wherever I'm going. I use that. Yes, we're gonna have those phases where we become angry, disgruntled. But then you got to pull yourself up and say, you know what? This ain't me. I got something better. I'm far too smart for this.
Somebody said disagree.
Go ahead, Rostin. I just want to. So when you're done, I want to respond to what Mr. Research said.
Go ahead,
Ross. Oh, I just wanted to say the reason I disagree with in the short term, I disagree with Mr. Research because we like to be scientific. So we have to use the mediums. We need to tell black men to use the healthy mediums to go through the process of stress and grief, right? Part of grieving is an anger stage. So we cannot deny that part of the stages of grief, there is a phase of anger. And to just tell men, well, to not go through that phase, I don't think that's good in the long term.
Here's why I push back on that. Let me interject. Here's why I push back. I'll give you the mic back.
Yeah.
But I say that because I think war all the time. And anger does not take over the time you pick up the battle axe and declare war. If MOT does something to me, it don't take me that long to say, you know what? Let me send some arrows over his way, so he can know how serious I am about this bloodshed. I just think dwelling in anger takes too much. But go ahead, sir.
Yeah, and I agree with that part. So I wanted you to specify that part. Like, I think where brothers get lost is that you have to move through the stages. You can't stay in one stage. And I think what happens is that a lot of these men, they've never had outlets to express the different kinds of pains and traumas that they incurred in their life. And unfortunately for some guys, they get stuck in the anger phase too long. Because just like when someone dies, there's a point where you have to move to the next phase so that you can get to the point where you can actually begin to move forward. So I just want to say that.
Hey, bro, speak. Don't let King Sigma bully you. Go ahead and speak up. Radical.
Nah.
No, I was doing something trying to get this laundry done. But yeah, just personal experience, like I said, my mother didn't really teach me about relationships. So when I actually got into a relationship, the only thing she taught me was don't get them pregnant. So other than that, it was just like whatever happens, and and it kind of messed me up as far as relationships. So I think, like I said, my mother wasn't a bad mother. I mean, I've had horror stories that I've heard from different guys, but mine wasn't as bad. But it's just like it wasn't. She didn't prepare me for being a man, and I think also it doesn't help that you know my father wasn't there either to really teach me enough about dealing with women. Even though he liked to run around with women, he didn't really teach me about dealing with women. So with that combination, it's like it puts you when you come into my ex-wife, even though she wasn't perfect, her family wasn't perfect, they still had that family structure. They still had that culture where the father is the head, the mother supports the father. So when you come to that culture, it's like, wow.
Imagine if all black boys had culture. Imagine if all black boys had some level of machismo. Sorry to cut you off. Akil, what are your thoughts? I cut you off earlier.
Well, speaking to what Bro Speaks just mentioned, he mentioned that that his mom or some of our mothers, our elders, do not prepare us. But if I may go back to something that King Sigma said, he used a key term. The key term was scientific. You have to look at things from a
Oh no,
scientific.
you don't have to agree with them. They're not gonna beat you up. I got your back, man. You can make your.
But I say that because my mom was also one of those mothers, shitting on my dad and shitting on my, he ain't this, he ain't that. Well, the way I looked at it growing up, well, that has nothing to do with me. I am the product of that. So then when my mother used to say all those things, I used to ask her questions. Well, where is he, particularly in the city of Chicago? And she would give me a roundabout area. She wasn't sure. So what I did, by me being naturally curious and always, even though I'm an introvert, I'm a homebody, I still spent a lot of time out in nature. I guess you can say young and soul searching before I even knew what soul searching was. And in the process, I ended up finding my dad, and then finding my dad and sitting down and speaking with him and looking at what he was doing as far as being a hustler, because my dad dropped out. I beat my dad before he was before I beat my dad when I graduated out of third grade. My dad didn't even make it out of third grade. And as he began to tell me what he was going through, and I began to watch his hustles and watch how he handled business and watch how he talked to the customers, and watch how he put the smack down, the pan down when people was coming sideways and left hand. Then I began to learn, like, what is my mother talking about? This dude is freaking awesome. So then, so then I think one key thing for me was the biggest lesson that my biggest lesson my dad taught me. I asked my dad for $2. Back then, cigarettes was $2. Gas was pretty cheap. I asked him for $2. You know what he told me? He said, "Nope, you can borrow it or you can go work for it." And I can tell you, it really pissed me off for him to say that, because I'm like, you're my dad. But then as time went by, I understood what he meant. Those were lessons that I missed listening and sitting around with my mom.
And you would have got denied if it was too much time with mom. We're going to start winding this down. Let's get to the positive. Get your solutions together. Now, I know Radical is always ready with solutions. So we've heard the negativity. What is the solutions? Let's start with Radical, and then we'll go to King Sigma. Radical, what are your thoughts?
I think first of all, shout out to everybody giving their experiences out. That's really eye-opening. You know what I mean? Just hearing other people's experiences.
I told you when you come over here, it's totally different, brother.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. It's not no back and forth, people yelling and stuff like that. I'm really enjoying this conversation. Now, I'm gonna say one of the solutions is at least trying to get back into basics. Let's try to see if we could try to get back into basics. Having our women actually be women, not trying to be men and women in the same time. You know what I'm saying? So at least trying to get back into basics and having our men actually learn from father figures or our fathers, you know what I'm saying, to be men. Because unfortunately, you know, my dad was, you know, running the streets. You know, I got more brothers and sisters that I probably never even met. You know what I'm saying? And I learned to talk to women from the streets, to be completely honest. You know, that's something I'm not hiding, but I should have learned it from my dad. You know what I mean?
True
but
that.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, we need to at least go back into the basics, you know. That whole femininity thing, that was a trope that worked for white women. You know what I'm saying? That should just stay over there. You know, we should at least learn how to, you know, conduct our household. Once our household is conducted positively, there's no dirt in it. That's when we'll see our seeds go and produce the same thing, you know?
Okay. And shout out to everybody. I want y'all to thank you for supporting positive intellectual conversations where we're not mad at each other screaming. Everybody gets to say what they say. We're not hating on black females. I got a lot of black female fans. We're just putting out how the black sons and the Latin sons perceive things. This is intellectualism. It's logic. It is experiences versus what's researched out there. Shout out to MOT. He wasn't able to stay in. You know, he got the gold mines up in Colorado. He's probably losing connection. Let me go to King Sigma, because he just sent me the back chat that he will beat me up if I do not give him the microphone right now. So King Sigma, what is the solution?
Well, you know, for me, it's like I'm a big proponent of self-actualization. And
damn articulate words, man. Come on, talk black. I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, Negroes just say, take care of yourself first. You know, I'm big on that, and I think that requires that one understand, like, you know, their different interests, find out what their true passions for, and stop trying to validate themselves by standards that they can't control and by people they can't control. That's why, you know, trying to identify yourself by, you know, how much vagina you can get or cannot get is always a bad standard for living, because, you know, trends change, women's attitudes change, just like clothing trends change and things like that. But one thing that stays true is that if you actually follow the path that you were put here to walk and actually discover your true interests and passions, and you actually just stick to that and focus on yourself, you'll tend to attract, quality women, quality people. And it ends up being like a natural vetting process for keeping you out of environments that would hold you back, that would probably be like regressive. So I've kind of learned that just by being true to your own value system and talking black, your code, as brothers like in this space like to talk about all the time. Once you find out what your value system is, and once that becomes a habit in your behaviors in your life, that's where codes come from.
See what happens when you're a black man and you read books. See what type of effect it has on you. It's just flows.
I mean, seriously though, like, you know, we talk about values and then we talk about a code, but brothers forget that you got to have a value system before you can get to the code. Values create a code because it becomes from repetition. So what you do every day and your habits and your behavior, that becomes your code. And what happens is that once that becomes like who you really are, living in your true self, you will automatically, people will feel your energy. That's why.
Now, I want to give applause to you and Akil for working on y'all 3-minute replies. You guys have gotten better at that. You slow talking Barry White type of dudes. Yeah, it takes both of y'all a while to get stuff out, but you and Akil, especially Akil came in here rapid fire. So just want to give respect to that. 30 more seconds. Go ahead, King Sigma. Then we'll go.
So I'll just say that, like, you know, once you develop a value system that becomes your personal code, man, you're gonna find out that like half your problems that you can control will take care of themselves. Life is dynamic. There's always going to be challenges, but the tighter your code, the more stronger your values are, the more you can take on the things that you can't control. So that the women, the ratchet ones ain't even going to come around you when your shit is right, when your code is tight. But the women that are the winners, they're going to be attracted to that energy. So that's just my own personal opinion.
Absolutely. Before I go to Bro Speak Radical, were you laughing or were you trying to say something?
No. I was laughing on some of your comments. That's actually true. You know, I was agreeing with him, like basically saying facts. Yeah.
Yeah, you got a library card too, huh? Uh,
Yeah, I
bro,
got like 3 of them, you know.
bro speaks. Yeah, so a radical got books he ain't gave back yet. Bro speaks. What are your thoughts, bro? What are the solutions?
Well, the solution is always going to be black men learn how to protect yourself. So I was on a panel yesterday, and I was telling the guy, when he was talking about protecting the women and the children, and I told him that black men have to protect themselves first before anything, because how can you protect women and children? You can't protect yourself. If when we talk about this game and talking about these women, they choosing these Pookie and Ray Rays, I'm like, I could take $200 and get that same woman.
Absolutely.
If I could take $200
less than that,
and listen, I try to get $200 because it takes away some of the crazy ones. But if I could take any type of money and get your chick, is that chick really quality? That chick, there should be no way that I can come with any amount of money and take your chick. That's where black men need to learn how to protect themselves financially and sexually. Because at the end of the day, as long as you are compromising in some type of way, you always going to end up with ratchet women. You're always going to end up in a weak position. And once you get that secure, where you get you're financially secure, and then your sexual needs are secure, then now I can focus on building. Now I can focus on the women that's going to be quality, and now I can assess any woman that come to me. I can assess if she's with the program or not. If she's not, I can send her on her way. If she is, we can go from there. And that's what black men need to focus on.
Now, somebody said Swiss ketchup, which I've never heard before. Why are black people dancing and shaking their bums everywhere? Brazil, Africa, America. So, and they also said Europe. When you're a well-traveled black man, you can easily answer this question. I would say to Swiss ketchup, everybody shakes their butts. Haven't you seen Arab women in Barca twerking? Matter of fact, I'm going to show some of that after I end this stream. You're going to see some Arab women in Dubai, full burqa, laying on their backs with their legs up in the air, twerking in full burqa. Don't blame it just on black people. You're going to see Asians. I'm going to have to show some of that. Twerking with flat booties.
Facts. I see that. Yeah.
Right. So the reason I call people anti-black is that sometimes people don't realize the Ku Klux Klan things that they say. Just like Donovan Sharp. This is a shot at him. Calling white women mud sharks. Look, you're calling them mud sharks because that's the Ku Klux Klan reference for white women that deal with black guys. But don't you realize that? But you're calling them mud sharks. Guess what? Donovan has a white woman. Is she a mud shark? So see, this is the thing that's really crazy, is that we say things that we don't realize are internationally not just about black people. Let me go to Akil. Akil has worked on his public speaking. He got some rapid fire stuff. That brother is working on that three-minute reply. Go ahead, brother.
You know, in my earlier years, I used to hate, as far as my career is concerned, I used to hate the question when they would ask you, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? And the main reason why I hated that question is because I never could answer it sufficiently enough to get the response that I sought. So as a result of me doing so, I got tired of that, and I just went home and I worked and worked and worked and worked on that. How does that relate into solutions? Well, it's being cognizant of you personally, or help you professionally. If you always think about it this way, if you operate with any and everybody as if you're on the job, as if you're speaking with a business partner, you will always win, because that is where the logic comes in, and it removes all emotion. There's no emotion in business. You know, I guess I can say, well, maybe, you know, people in the stock market are losing their minds and they're killing themselves because they feel emotional. That's a whole nother story, but you get the gist of it. Okay, I can give you some more if you like.
Well, no. I was going to. No, I had myself on mute. I just want to thank you guys for coming in, because I always try to surround myself around brothers that can teach me something. You know, this world. I enjoy being mentally challenged. That's one of the reasons why I didn't recreate Alpha Male Wisdom. Alpha Male Wisdom had 42,000 subscribers, but it talked about women all the time, because I realized that guys fell in love with anti-female talk, and I wanted to go a totally different route. I wanted to talk power, and now I love it when people come in and they give this challenging stuff, and I want to learn. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to you, brothers. Hopefully you guys answer your emails when I send y'all links. When you can.
You saw how fast I rushed into it.
Yeah, but I owe you money. So I think that's the reason you came around.
Yeah. Well, real quick before I go, I want to ask you something though. Give me your honest opinion, because I saw that you posted one of my debates on your channel, which is nothing wrong with that. Shout out to you. Mm-hmm. What do you really think about that debate that I had?
And we're talking about Puerto Rican, right?
Yeah, that Puerto Rican anti-black dude that I.
So here's the unfortunate thing, and it's like I told you behind the scene.
Yeah,
I'm a history buff.
Yeah.
And I don't believe Latins understand what has been played on them. And you kind of alluded that to him, because he was saying stuff that he didn't. He was saying stuff that he did not know. He was saying stuff he heard.
Yeah.
And that was the sad part about. Everybody felt sad for that brother, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because he was speaking from a white standpoint, not even knowing why he didn't speak with confidence. Mm-hmm. It was like he was disagreeing just to disagree. Now, I look at the black community here on YouTube and what you experience, what some other of us experience. You got black people who will say stuff that they have no evidence of and make jokes about it, the fact that they're losing in a discussion, and try to humiliate the other person for knowing too much. You know what I'm saying? So it's become it's just like what you guys didn't hear when King Sigma and I was speaking. I said, well, now that Obsidian's not on here and BGS is not on here, there's no more Pookie and Ray Ray conversation, because those are the two dudes who kept promoting it. Those are the two dudes who kept entertaining people with nonsense. There is no Faulkner plan. I don't care who gets mad about it. I'm gonna speak real. There is no Faulkner plan, because those people are not on anymore, because it was a dumb idea anyway. So that's what I think about that video you had, is just, and I want to see you challenge more people. You know what I'm saying? Because that's one of the reasons I reached out to you, because if you run into somebody who is too much for you, call me, brother. I'll drop what I did right over.
Listen, we could turn this thing into a wrestling match. I'll tag you in anytime. Because
what they don't know is, Radical, I want you and King Sigma to start talking, because see, that's my nuclear weapon. That's the young better version of me. I will say that cat is lethal. Go ahead, Akil. I'm sorry.
If I might add one more thing. Speaking of challenges, I've noticed as I watched different Wolf shows, as he's just stated, there are a lot of laughter, a lot of bullshit going on in the chat and trolling and things of that nature. And then as soon as the brother say, you know what, here's the link, come on in, everybody bows out, everybody turns to chicken shits. You know what? I challenge all you watchers and up and coming people that if you want you want to not learn something. Challenge is more important than anything else. It makes you a man of substance to know that you can conquer. You're a conqueror, as Wolf said. You're slaying dragons, and I'm out.
I'm gonna say is first of all, King Sigmund, shout out to you. If you want to get my information, get it from Classic Black Man. Definitely. Anytime we can speak. I'm not saying that I know everything. I'm still learning. I'm still learning from everybody in the chat. Especially from conversations like this. I definitely learn a lot more. I'm not saying that I'm a super duper person that knows how to debate or whatever the case is. I'm not claiming none of that. The main reason why I get into certain debates with certain individuals is because I want to debunk all their BS that they put out here.
Let me just interject.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You're absolutely right. I want to ultimately get the most intellectual black men in one space. That's my goal. My goal is to get the most intellectual people in one space and talk about what we see on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right now, we got people who are scamming people for money. Right now, we got people who YouTuber, another some Asian YouTuber just got caught. What did he do? He got caught being on a gay site. And this is the dude that was going around getting people information, trying to expose it. So, people are afraid of what's real, and they're so caught up in this fantasy. But I'm sorry, go ahead and finish your thought, and I'm gonna start.
I'm just happy to be a part of a collective that is that isn't on that rah-rah stuff. You know what I mean? Just big shout out to everybody up in there. But the main reason why I do certain debates is because I want to debunk those type of ideologies, those type of rhetoric, because not only does it look bad for my community, but it looks bad overall because somebody like that who I debated shouldn't be even viewed as not only an intellectual, but shouldn't even be viewed as somebody that should even be speaking. No shot at him, you know what I mean? But those are the type of ideologies that I definitely I need to basically debunk. You know what I'm saying? But I want to give an exclusive, to Classic. I want to give an exclusive out right now this Wednesday. I'm going to I already interviewed, but it's going to be coming out that I interviewed a former white supremacist.
Okay.
Who was part of the movement. So we get into deep discussion, and I definitely want you to basically break apart that interview. If you want to do it on your channel, also break apart certain things, that you want to even ask or whatever the case is, but just break that whole thing apart.
What we'll do, we'll take this collection of King Sigma, Akil, Bro, and I'll probably invite Raz, and we'll take that video and play it, and I'll try to get out the juiciest parts of it, and we'll discuss it in pieces. So that way, and also it helps you because, like I said, man, we want to have the best conversations because we can't do that still talking about 40 ounces.
Yeah.
Did you see that new Atari?
No, definitely. But like I said, thank you very much for having me, King Sigma. I got your email just now. I saw the private chat. Shout out to you. I'm gonna definitely email you so we could, have a formal discussion if you would like to.
Yeah, we have to do so. We definitely have to figure something out for the future, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, I'm really feeling everybody's energy. But like I said, thank you very much, and peace and power for everybody.
All right, no doubt. Bro and Akil, we've done too much talking. Y'all done the less talking. So you and Bro speak. Y'all got anything y'all want to say? I'm not gonna let King Sigma speak, even though he's gonna beat me up. Go ahead, Akil and Bro speak.
All right. Appreciate you all out here in YouTube land. who is just tired of the nonsense. We got you back. But getting your back, there's a cost to that. Subscribe, share, donate. Let's get this this new version of Black Wall Street going again. And this time, let's make it impenetrable.
Absolutely. And Akil, you were supposed to send me some audio zips. I never got them. So I'm letting you know it's still open for you, man. You as well, bro, speaks. If you want to speak about life, raising, taking care of mom or taking care of daughters or whatever you want to do, send me the audio in a zip. And I have the Sony movie version of software, and I can edit it and do it all from my phone. So I can upload it on here if you guys want to get more fans to your channel. All right.
Okay, no problem. I can record some stuff and just send.
Yep, brother. I'll load it up and put your face on it.
Okay.
All right. King Sigma, you got the last word.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Mr. Research. Shout out to the panel. Thanks for adding you guys' insights into this conversation, and hopefully we'll keep building from here, and we'll get back to that whole conversation about the evolution of fathers losing what they used to call the empire of the father rights and being replaced by preference for women receiving kids. I think that will be like a foundational conversation for how we got here in 2020, where we assume that putting children under the custody of the mother would be better. But now, after at least 30 or 40 years of research, we know that has proven not to be the case. So hopefully we'll have that discussion in the near future. But you have a good night, Mr. Research.
Come back after you read Title 4 and let's have a discussion about it, brother.
I got it down, bro. I got you. Peace.
All right, peace. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Well, like I said, what we want to do is have more intellectual conversations, man. You can go anywhere else to hate on women, but it's all about power, man. And lastly, I'm going to leave you with some good tidbits of what's going on. AMC Theater, you think it's not advisable to get into Amazon at this point in time? Amazon and the AMC connection, even though they're filing for bankruptcy. Now, again, a lot of people don't talk this level of the game. I wish I was on with Kevin Samuels. This would be a good discussion for us. But AMC is faltering in bankruptcy only because of this COVID thing. The culture has changed. All AMC is going to do is relaunch with all of their debt gone. The old investors are going to take a loss through the bankruptcy. But Amazon is just going to make a killing on the relaunch. They're just going to make a killing. It's just obvious. It's just obvious. Amazon has this thing where they're saying now they're going to put their Amazon stuff into movies. I mean, into those theaters, just to get the Grammy nominations and things of that nature. Even though they're already getting it, they want to even make it a more so thing by putting it in their movie theaters. So I think there's going to be a redesign of what's going on. Also, one of the reasons I talk to you guys about movie theaters and black men investing in movie theaters, because we as black men, we got to go make money at our job so we can connect with the Mr. Researchers of the world when I open my Taco Bell Express, or when I do become partners at a movie theater. I might want to invite y'all as some of my minor investors. Like if I put $150,000 into a movie theater of that's some brother has at $1 million, well, my 150 might just be 5%, 10%. True, but I may be able to bring you in through a contract basis to sell 3% of my 5%, because at the end of the day, it's about getting residual checks, and that's the Wolf way of thinking. Wolf rule number 1: control your mouth. You don't need to reply. You don't need to reply. That's what women do. Women have to reply. Men outthink each other. Wolf rule number 2: always keep a $3,000 lawyer on deck. You don't know when you're going to get pulled over. You need to be able to pull out your lawyer card. That's the Wolf way of thinking. Wolf rule number 3: don't let your children be used against you. Refer to Wolf Rule number 2. Always have a lawyer on deck. Your children can be your actual children. Your children could be you driving and getting stopped by. Don't let things get used against you. Matter of fact, I'm putting this on the Patreon. Much love to all you guys who've donated, man. I appreciate it so much. Cliff, shout out to you. Let me run a couple of things. Bro came back. What did you want to say, bro? Okay. Carlton said, I just donated. Thank you for the wisdom. Thank you for the power. I appreciate it, man. Much love to y'all, and we'll come back with some more stuff. Peace.